I used to be a human being.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite the statement.
Right. It really hits you. That's actually how the writer Andrew Sullivan described himself back in a 2016 essay. He was detailing how just this endless, crushing bombardment of news and gossip and images had completely broken him down.
Oh, I remember that piece. Just transforming him from a normal, functional person into this manic information addict.
Exactly. And honestly, you listening to this right now, you probably know the exact feeling he's talking about. I mean, you wake up, you reach for that glowing rectangle on your nightstand, and before your feet even hit the floor, you've absorbed like a minor political scandal, a targeted ad for a mattress, and 3 pictures of a high school friend's breakfast.
It's exhausting. It's a very heavy, specific kind of modern exhaustion.
It totally is. So today, for you, the ever-curious learner, we are taking a deep dive into Cal Newport's Digital Minimalism. And I want to be super clear right up front. Our mission today is not to just hand you some flimsy life hacks.
Right, because telling you to just, put your phone in a drawer during dinner, that isn't going to fix this.
No, not at all. We're going to really unpack the invisible psychological forces that have actively hijacked your attention and explore a full-on comprehensive philosophy to help you reclaim your autonomy.
And to dismantle that exhaustion, and we really have to look at the genesis of the problem first, because literally nobody consciously signs up for an existence completely dominated by screens.
No, we kind of just stumbled backward into the digital age, didn't we?
We really did. If you go back and look at the initial promises of these technologies, they were incredibly modest. Think back to 2007 when Steve Jobs gave that famous iPhone keynote.
Oh, right, the legendary presentation.
Yeah, he didn't pitch a device designed to consume like 8 hours of your waking life. He pitched it simply as the best iPod Apple had ever made, plus a phone that made scrolling through your contacts a little bit easier.
Which is wild to think about now. When the iPhone launched, there was no app store. There were literally no social media notifications.
Exactly. And Facebook, similarly, it started as just this novelty directory for college students to check relationship statuses.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because it's like buying a Swiss Army knife, because you occasionally need a toothpick, right? But then, over a few years, the knife slowly hypnotizes you until you're sitting in the corner carving wood for 6 hours a day, just completely ignoring your family.
That is a terrifying but incredibly accurate analogy.
Right, like you never wanted to be a wood carver, you just wanted a toothpick. But okay, I do have to push back here a little bit.
Go for it.
The baseline utility of a smartphone is just massive. Navigating around traffic, calling an Uber, texting a spouse, doesn't that sheer usefulness justify the amount of time we spend looking at the screen?
That is the big question. That tension you're pointing out is crucial. But our modern unease with technology isn't actually about usefulness at all. It is entirely about autonomy.
Autonomy, like the loss of control over your own intent.
Precisely. You might open a social media app to find a recommendation for a plumber, which, yes, is highly useful. But then you find yourself mindlessly scrolling through short-form videos for 45 minutes.
Oh man, guilty as charged.
We all are. But that right there is a failure of autonomy. Tristanharris, he's a former Google engineer who became a pretty prominent whistleblower. He famously held up a smartphone on 60 Minutes and called it a slot machine in your pocket.
A slot machine. And a slot machine is entirely different from a tool.
Oh, completely.
A tool just sits there waiting to be used. But a slot machine is this engineered behavioral trap designed to keep you pulling the lever through the unpredictability of the reward.
Yes, and that unpredictability is the core mechanism of the trap. NYU psychology professor Adam Alter details how these platforms utilize something called intermittent positive reinforcement.
Intermittent positive reinforcement. Okay, break that down for us.
So the foundational science for this goes way back to the 1970s with Michael Zeiler's pigeon experiments. Zeiler discovered that if a pigeon pecks a button and receives a food pellet every single time, the pigeon is actually totally content.
It just eats when it's hungry, right?
Exactly, normal behavior. But if the reward is delivered unpredictably, like sometimes a peck yields food, sometimes it yields absolutely nothing, the pigeon's brain freaks out. It releases massive, surging amounts of dopamine.
Oh, wow. So the craving just goes into overdrive.
You got it. And the pigeon starts pecking the button obsessively.
So every time we pull down to refresh an email inbox or, post a photo to see how many likes it generates, we are the pigeons.
We are exactly the pigeons. We are chasing that unpredictable surge of dopamine.
And the tech industry is fully aware of this biology, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. They bank on it. I mean, think about Facebook's original notification icon. It used to be blue, designed to just blend in seamlessly with their site's color scheme.
And nobody clicked it, I bet.
Right, nobody cared. So they changed it to an alarm bell red, which triggers a deeply ingrained mammalian urgency response. And engagement just skyrocketed.
That is so manipulative.
It is. Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, stated openly that the platform was designed to exploit a vulnerability in human psychology. They actively engineer these micro hits of dopamine to extract as much of your conscious attention as structurally possible.
So you, the listener, you are locked in a completely lopsided arms race here. It is you in your living room against multi-billion-dollar conglomerates employing thousands of engineers whose sole mandate is to keep your eyes glued to the glass.
Which is why willpower is functionally useless against that level of behavioral engineering. You can't just try harder.
Right, you need a structural philosophy to fight back, and that is exactly what digital minimalism offers. It's about focusing your online time on a very small, carefully curated set of activities that actively support what you deeply value, and then happily ignoring everything else.
And building that philosophy requires a huge shift in how we actually value our time. The foundation for this actually comes from an unexpected place, Henry David Thoreau's time at Walden Pond.
Okay, Thoreau, taking it back to the 1800s.
Yeah, Thoreau developed what he called a new economics. He calculated the precise cost of his minimalist lifestyle, like the food, the shelter, the oil for his lamp, and realized he only needed to labor 1 day a week to survive.
Which sounds like a dream, honestly.
Right, but the true breakthrough was his unit of measurement. Thoreau argued that the true cost of a thing is the amount of life you have to exchange for it.
The amount of life... Man, if you apply Thoreau's logic to a modern social media user, the math is just terrifying.
Oh, do the math. It's brutal.
Okay, let's say you spend 10 hours a week scrolling through a platform like Twitter. The quote-unquote profit you extract is perhaps seeing a few interesting articles or a funny meme.
Yeah, brief chuckle.
Right. But the cost is 10 actual irreplaceable hours of your finite life. When you frame it as exchanging literal chunks of your lifespan for a tiny trickle of digital amusement, the trade suddenly looks like an incredibly bad deal.
An awful deal. And once you recognize that the digital clutter is quite literally costing you your life, the next logical step is aggressive optimization.
Aggressive optimization. Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, it relies on the law of diminishing returns. Identifying a technology that serves a value is only the first step. You must restrict how you use it so the cost doesn't balloon and outweigh the benefit.
Because simply leaving the app on your home screen with all the notifications turned on is the absolute least optimized way to use it, right? It's like leaving an open invitation for the slot machine to take over.
Exactly. Let's look at a case study from the source material. There's this woman, Gabriella. She really enjoys streaming shows on Netflix.
Sure, normal thing to enjoy.
Totally. However, she recognized she was highly susceptible to isolated binge watching. A habit heavily facilitated by the platform's autoplay feature. And it was leaving her feeling lethargic and disconnected.
We've all been sucked into the autoplay vortex.
Right. So her optimization was structural. She established a strict rule that she is only allowed to watch Netflix when she is physically in the same room with friends.
Oh, wow. So she turned it into a purely social thing.
Exactly. By introducing a social constraint, she altered the neural reward. It is no longer a solitary, compulsive dopamine loop. It is a shared social event that serves her deeper value of connection.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Other minimalists take this even further. They'll delete social media apps from their phones entirely. If they want to check their feeds, they force themselves to log in through a clunky desktop browser.
So they preserve the core utility of that work, but add enough physical friction to break the compulsive loop.
Yes. Friction is your friend here.
The ultimate example of this intentional friction completely challenges how we usually think about tech adoption. Because the Amish are often stereotyped as, historical reenactors who stubbornly reject modernity.
Oh yeah, the whole Luddite stereotype.
Right. But the reality of how they interact with technology actually provides a masterclass in optimization.
It really does. Technologists actually refer to the Amish as Alpha Geeks.
Alpha Geeks, I love that term.
Right. They are intensely intentional hackers of technology. They aren't inherently anti-tech at all. They are fiercely pro-community. For instance, some Amish communities utilize disposable diapers.
Makes sense.
And get this, one family might operate a massive $400,000 computer-controlled CNC milling machine to manufacture parts for their business.
Wait. A CNC milling machine is a highly complex, automated piece of industrial robotics. How does a community that travels by horse-drawn buggy justify a $500,000 robotics rig, but strictly ban owning a standard Honda Civic?
It seems like a paradox, doesn't it? But it comes down to the underlying mechanism of how the specific technology impacts their social fabric.
Okay, break that down for me.
A CNC milling machine allows an Amish farmer to manufacture parts locally. This sustains a profitable business that keeps the family rooted in their geographic community. So it actively reinforces their core values.
Okay. And a car does the opposite.
Exactly. A car fractures geography.
Okay.
If you possess a car, you might drive 30 miles away on a Sunday afternoon instead of just walking down the road to visit a sick neighbor in your own parish.
Wow. So the car slowly dissolves that tight-knit physical reliance of the community.
Yes. The Amish start with their values, community, and faith, and they rigorously test new technologies against those values. If a tool strengthens the local fabric, they adopt it. If it erodes it, they ban it.
That is so intentional.
And the profound satisfaction they experience doesn't just stem from the community itself, It comes from the psychological weight of the intentionality. Actively choosing how you interact with the modern world is an incredibly empowering act.
But applying that level of Amish intentionality to a modern screen-addicted life, that isn't something you can achieve by just setting a 15-minute screen time limit on your phone. The friction of convenience will just pull you right back in.
Oh, absolutely. Half measures don't work.
Right. To really break the cycle, the sources suggest a much more aggressive intervention: the 30-day digital declutter.
Yes, the digital declutter. Think of it as a rapid reset. First, you must catalog your digital life and identify all quote-unquote optional technologies.
Optional meaning what exactly?
This encompasses social media, news sites, streaming video, video games. Basically, if stepping away from a platform won't get you fired or cause a literal emergency, it's optional. You then remove them entirely for 30 days.
Okay, 30 days. I can hear people listening right now panicking. That sounds like a fast track to withdrawal. People are immediately going to try to negotiate the rules, especially with things like the news cycle. Like, I can't just ignore the world for a month.
It's the most common pushback, which is why you have to create strict operating procedures for the borderlines. Let's look at an experiment participant named D. He was suffering from intense political anxiety.
Which is very relatable.
Highly relatable. So he dropped all online news consumption completely for 30 days. When he returned, he replaced his compulsive doom scrolling with a single daily visit to allsides.com.
All Sides. Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah, it's a platform that simply presents major news stories, and they put left-leaning, right-leaning, and center perspectives displayed neutrally side by side.
Right. And just to be clear for the listener, we are not taking any political sides here or endorsing specific viewpoints. We're just impartially sharing how D managed his information intake.
Exactly. It's about the delivery method, not the politics itself.
Which highlights the whole issue of algorithmic manipulation in traditional news feeds. When you scroll a social media feed, the algorithm monitors your dwell time and just serves up increasingly polarizing, emotionally charged headlines.
Yes, because it is engineered to keep you angry and anxious. Anger sustains attention.
It totally does. So a tool like All Sides strips away the algorithm. You absorb the necessary information without the targeted emotional manipulation.
That's the goal. But getting back to the declutter, the biology of the 30-day period is really what makes it non-negotiable. This isn't just a test of discipline.
What's happening biologically?
Well, your brain's neural pathways have been physically altered by years of that intermittent positive reinforcement we talked about. The constant dopamine spikes from your screen have downregulated your natural receptors.
Your brain is literally wired differently now.
Yes, the 30 days act as a mandatory dopamine fast. It takes roughly a month for your brain chemistry to baseline and for those compulsive, twitchy urges to physically quiet down.
But wait, if you just white-knuckle it for 30 days, staring at the wall and sweating out the withdrawals, you are guaranteed to reinstall everything on day 31 and just binge for 4 hours?
Oh, 100%. Because the deprivation isn't the point.
Right. You have to actively fill the void left by the screen. You have to rediscover high-quality analog leisure.
Analog leisure, yes. Like reading dense books, fixing a bicycle, actually talking to a human being over coffee.
You are essentially doing physical therapy for your attention span. You're teaching your brain how to enjoy slow, sustained activities again.
Perfectly said. Then, at the end of the 30 days, you don't just revert to the old setup. You rebuild your digital life from a blank slate. Every single technology has to pass a rigorous screening before it is allowed back in.
Okay, what's the screening process?
First, does it serve a deeply held value? Second, is it the absolute best way to serve that value? And third, what is the specific constrained operating procedure for using it?
Wow, okay, so once you implement those constraints, you sweep away hours and hours of digital clutter. And suddenly, you are left with a massive volume of quiet time.
Which can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first.
Oh, absolutely. But the sources argue this quiet time isn't just a nice side effect of minimalism. It is a fundamental biological necessity that modern life has nearly eradicated.
We are talking about the critical need for true solitude. And our cultural definition of solitude is currently entirely backwards.
How so?
Well, consider Abraham Lincoln writing the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay, back to the 1860s.
The White House during the Civil War was a chaotic mess of job seekers, politicians, and generals. To find the mental space to write, Lincoln commuted by horseback to a cottage at the soldiers' home.
Wait, a soldier's home? That doesn't sound very quiet.
It wasn't. He was constantly surrounded by the tents and noise of Union soldiers, yet this was where he found his solitude.
Oh, interesting, because as legal scholar Raymond Keflage and Michael Irwin point out, solitude has absolutely nothing to do with physical isolation.
Nothing at all.
It is purely a subjective state where your mind is free from the input of other minds. It's about what is happening inside your own cognitive workspace.
Exactly. So if you go for a hike in the deepest, most physically isolated part of the woods, but you have your headphones in and you're listening to this deep dive, you are not in solitude.
Wait, really? Even alone in the woods?
Nope. Because you are actively processing our thoughts, our arguments, our voices. Your brain is not alone with its own thoughts.
Mind blown. Historically, humans naturally experienced hours of solitude every single day. Walking to the market, waiting for a train, doing physical chores.
It was built into daily life.
But with the widespread adoption of the smartphone, we achieved something historically unprecedented and deeply concerning: the ability to permanently banish solitude.
It's scary when you put it like that.
We can now continuously inject other people's thoughts into our brains from the moment we wake up until the moment we fall asleep.
And the consequences of this solitude deprivation are stark, and the data proves it. Look at Jean Twinge's research on Igen. That's the generation born after in 1995, the first to grow up with smartphones as a given.
What did she find?
She shows a terrifying inflection point. Right around 2012, when smartphone ownership crossed the 50% mark, rates of teen anxiety, depression, and self-harm didn't just trend upward, they launched off a cliff.
Oh man, that is so sad.
It's devastating. Humans are simply not wired to be constantly wired. Our brains require offline processing time to consolidate memories, regulate complex emotions, and perform fundamental cognitive housekeeping. Without solitude, the neurological system overheats and breaks down into chronic anxiety.
So the prescription for this is surprisingly analog, but it requires pushing through that initial discomfort we talked about.
Yes, you have to practice it.
First, just leave your phone behind. Put it in the glove box when you run into the grocery store. Practice existing in public without a digital crutch.
The great first step.
Second, take long walks. The philosopher Nietzsche actually argued that only thoughts reached by walking have value because the physical rhythm of walking occupies the body just enough to free the subconscious mind to wander.
I love that quote.
Me too. And third, write letters to yourself. I actually track my own thoughts in a moleskin notebook. It's not a diary meant for anyone else to read. The physical act of writing forces the brain to organize its own internal chaos rather than endlessly reacting to an external stimulus.
Taking these steps, though, requires confronting a very specific modern fear, which is the fear of missing out on social connection.
Ah, FOMO.
FOMO, exactly. Our screens have tricked us into believing that constant digital availability equals meaningful connection. But the irony is that this fire hose of shallow digital interaction is actively starving the highly evolved social architecture of our brains.
Which brings us to the USA Rock, Paper, Scissors League.
Yes, my favorite part.
It seems completely unrelated, but it is actually the perfect demonstration of how our brains process human interaction.
When you watch professional rock, paper, scissors players, you realize it is not a game of chance at all.
It's not.
No, it is an intense, high-bandwidth masterclass in social decoding. These players are constantly reading micro-expressions, analyzing subtle shifts in body language, and performing rapid-fire mind reading to anticipate their opponent's next move.
Wow.
Our brains possess an astonishing amount of computational power dedicated solely to this kind of face-to-face analysis. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman explains this through what he calls the default network.
Okay, the default network. Let's dig into that.
Whenever your brain is not focused on a specific, demanding cognitive task, I mean, even if it's just a 3-second pause between answering 2 emails, it automatically instantly defaults to thinking about your social world.
Like your relationships, your standing in the group, how others perceive you.
Exactly. We are profoundly social animals. Evolution has intertwined our social survival with our physical survival so deeply that Lieberman notes the brain interprets social rejection using the exact same neural pain networks as a physical injury.
That is incredible. So you possess this biological supercomputer, honed over millions of years of evolution, to decode incredibly rich, complex, high-bandwidth social cues, tone of voice, pupil dilation, posture.
All of it.
And today we are trying to satisfy that massive computational hunger with a sterile text-based comment or like a tiny glowing heart icon on a screen.
It doesn't even compute.
No, it is the equivalent of trying to feed a starving blue whale with a single grain of rice. The brain works overtime trying to extract rich social meaning from a digital medium that contains literally none, and the result is just this exhausting, hollow anxiety.
This is exactly why Michael Harris and Wendell Berry both argue that embracing true solitude is the only way to enhance our actual connections.
A bit counterintuitive, but it makes sense.
It does. When we eliminate the shallow, engineered pings of the attention economy, our social brains can finally rest. We stop trying to extract nutrients from digital junk food, and then we can prioritize rich interpersonal interaction, like sitting across a table, looking someone in the eye, reading those micro-expressions, which is what our biology actually craves.
So let's bring this all together for the listener. We started today looking at the heavy exhaustion of the modern, frazzled maximalist.
All been there.
We unpacked the psychological mechanisms, the slot machine in your pocket, the algorithmic manipulation, the dopamine traps that have actively hijacked your autonomy. But we also mapped the escape route.
Yes, there is a way out. By adopting the intentionality of the Amish and the careful accounting of Thoreau, you can execute a 30-day digital declutter.
You can physically reset your neural pathways, reclaim the biological necessity of solitude, and stop feeding your deeply social brain with digital junk food.
You can step completely out of the lopsided arms race.
And we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you navigate your day. Over the last decade, tech conglomerates have treated your attention like a natural resource to be aggressively mined, packaged, and sold to advertisers.
Trillions of dollars built on that premise.
Right. But what happens in the next decade when a critical mass of people exactly like you, simply refuse to be mined?
That is the million-dollar question. If human autonomy becomes the ultimate luxury good of the 21st century, the entire digital economy will have to fundamentally restructure itself to accommodate the intentional minimalist.
The power shifts back to you. Keep that in mind the next time your screen lights up. Take your life back.